It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. It's the podcast after Connacht have fallen to a 1-point defeat to Ulster. We're in the TG Carr studios where Rob and William were commentating for Galway Bay. That was an exciting game at the end, Rob.
It was a great game. Put me in good Christmas cheer, I tell you. It's a busy time for myself and many people in my industry. But it was lovely to come up here to TG Carr Studios and commentate on a good contest. Maybe at 14 points to 7, a couple of mistakes. You're wondering, where else they're going to kick on here? They're going to just be too strong, all that kind of crack. But as it turned out, conditions really did prove to be a key factor. Connacht got well back into the second half. Two really evenly balanced sides. I think it came down to one or two key areas. We'll talk about the line-out again.
We will indeed, William. What were your thoughts on? Yes, that's 5 in a row. That's actually I have some stats on those 5 in a row. Andy Friend's first season, he lost 5 in a row. KK in his season lost 2 4s in a row rather than getting a 5. Pat Lamb's first season, he lost 8 in a row. Elwood lost 10 in a row in his first season, and Michael Bradley lost 4 in a row in his first season. So it's not as though a first season coach has not had this sort of thing before.
No, I mean, I remember all of those. That was the least worst of the losses by a big margin in terms of the performance and the quality of some of the rugby. Some of it was really, really good, but we've seen that all season with the exception of the Bordeaux game where nothing happened. The winning and losing of that game, there's so many little small incidents. One point I would make was there was barely... Ulster didn't give away very many kickable penalties, but you do wonder when your line-out is malfunctioning as badly as Connacht is in the 22, would you be better off to maybe see if you could stick some points on the board in that type of situation? Ulster kicked, 2 penalties in the game? Well, that's why they won the game.
Well, that plus the fact that looked like a very good try to me that was taken away from Shane Bolton.
I'm...
Which would have been not just a win, but it would have been a try bonus win.
It would have been the try bonus point. They might...
Just to be clear, when we talk about things like this, if he scores the try, then the entire next set of events, if you believe in chaos theory, would have all changed.
The same way, Rob, but it all works the same way it worked. Everything would have been the same. We just would have had an extra try.
Yeah, it's possible.
Letting him in the time travel machine. That's up everything.
Look, I think Shane Bolton was a bit of a revelation tonight. Yeah, he has been showing it, and one of the key things about him is, he's a big unit, but he shifts quickly. Keep him fit. Sean O'Brien going off was very disappointing. Joe Joyce having to pull out with illness. Look, these things happen. It's, Ulster lost somebody before the start, his name escapes me. Michael Lowry didn't go to fullback, and Will Addison played there. But it's another loss, and, the games aren't exactly running out, but when they play Munster on the 1st of January and that game is finished, half the season will be over in the URC. Now, it's going to take an extraordinary 6 months to play the rest of the season, or certainly the guts of it, to play 9 games, which I still find very odd, but there is going to be pressure then. If they beat Munster, they will have 5 wins and 4 losses. If it's the other way around, the next 9 games become really complex because I believe you need 11 wins.
Yeah, 4 bonus points as well. Just saying. Bonus points are important.
They are, but the win is.
Yeah, I know. The wins are more important, but you can't talk about wins and losses without mentioning bonus points.
Can I say, and I know you want to get to the audio, and I'll mess up your structure, but you were saying some really interesting stats there about how many coaches, how many losses in a row. So are you saying... you're never really saying specifically something with a stat. I know that about you, but we know this team made the playoffs last year. It's not a brand new team. This isn't even a brand new coaching team because these guys were a key part of it last year. It's a much changed coaching team.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
so.
Quite
but
a
do
big
we wipe
change.
the slate clean and treat them the same as the others? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
I don't agree with that at all. If this coaching team, with this group of players who've just reached the last 4, go back towards losing 8 in a row, which I'm just saying if they lose to Munster, Bristol and Lyon, which is not
possible.
an outrageous thing to say,
Yeah.
I don't think you can just say, that's just like all the other coaching teams, they're finding their feet. That's what I'd say.
There is a bedding in period, but part of the problem is Connacht have been progressing, improving for such a long time without actually doing much until last season. They got to a semi-final, and that's why I asked the questions during the week at the press conference. And I said, you had a template, and it's been torn up to some extent. And I think there's a question about whether the players, it's not a case of them believing the system, they're not used to the system, and there's been with the exception
of systems. Remember, there's various different systems.
There is,
and I think the biggest one probably for me, and why I think Connacht lost tonight, was one system in particular, and that's the lineout. Like, there were so many different muck-ups tonight. It wasn't just a line-out throw. It wasn't just a short throw or an overthrow, which there was a couple of. There was guys didn't get in the air at one stage. That's a whole system right across the board. And defensively, until Niall Murray came on, we weren't really putting their line-out under any pressure.
No, that's that's his speciality. Although I think Gavin Thornbury might have got his hands on a couple as well.
Yeah, but not to the same level.
No,
Niall Murray jumped like it was being thrown to him.
Yeah, no, it's that is the question, and it's a new line-out coach. It's John Muldoon, so the pressure is on him to get that right. The attack at times looks very slick, and then it looks really ponderous. And I know there was the issue about Ulster, Connacht playing on an advantage, and Ulster just went in and gave away a second penalty. But Connacht didn't put any pace onto that attack when they had the free play. You're thinking, you got to spin this, but move it.
Yeah, again, we're looking at the weather. The weather was pretty.
Yeah, but it was a free play, Alan.
We were sitting inside.
It's a free play, Alan.
Even with a free play. In
pretty
brutal weather.
With like two of the best players in the World Cup in Mac Hansen and Bundyaki.
Yep.
Get the ball in their hands when you have a free
Mac Hansen showed when they did get it out wide, he scored in the first half.
Exactly. And it's, even in the first half there was a series of plays where we had an advantage in the 22 and it was just pick and go, and then we took our penalty. It's like there are other options, and if you're going to pull it out of the bag, get rid of the. I'm with William. Like, whatever about Ulster's cynicism there. I will say this: I want to see it again, but I'm pretty confident the referee said on Shane Bolton's situation, tackle completed. At that stage, it has to be hands away. Any rip in the tackle should be penalised. It's not just Owen Cross. Every single referee is at this lately. The referees need to get down on this. You guys were talking to Andrew Brace a few weeks ago. That'll be one of my questions now for him. It's like, when are you going to pay attention to the fact that that's attack? That's not a play. You cannot play the ball then. A rip in that situation is a penalty against Ulster, and we didn't get the call. I mean, look, that's not why we lost the game. We lost the game because of the lineouts. We lost the game because of the controllables.
And we gave way too many penalties. So, I'll tell you what, because you asked him about that, here's Rob asking Pete Wilkins about that loss and why it happened.
Pete, that's got to be the toughest dressing room you've had for a while now, because your side died with their boots on out there, but they still come away with just the 1 point.
Yeah, we've had a couple of tough ones like that, it feels like, in the last month. But, yeah, very proud of the efforts, obviously. It's fine margins. I think when you look at the build up to this game, Connacht and Ulster were incredibly even in terms of what they produced so far this season on average. I think at half time it was incredibly even in terms of penalty counts and entries to the 22 and amount of possession, and it was going to be like that all the way through the game. So crucial moments. I think 3 penalties conceded just after half time to piggyback Ulster down the field was crucial, and those things make a big difference at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that Ulster just had those kicks and fine margins. We've honed in on the line out as being one of the few areas of the game where Connacht didn't really improve, didn't really execute well. Do you agree with that? Do you feel it was a critical element?
I think there's a number of things in there, but anytime you're in the the attacking end of the field, the attacking third, and you're not executing, you look for the source of it. So whether it's a faulty line out, whether it's a knock on at the back of a pick and drive, I think all of those moments are crucial. So, every time you work so hard to get into the 22, and ultimately you want to come away with something. And, if you're not coming away with penalty or points, then the source of that becomes a big focus.
So when Connacht turn over a ball and you're 1 point down, you sweep the ball across the line, and maybe Farrell obviously didn't execute the pass as well as he should have. Bolton could have been away there. Do you stop yourself honing in on a moment like that, or do you have to just acknowledge that that's where the game was in the hands of Connacht?
No, I think you have your immediate frustration. I think particularly, for example, that one, you see how well Shane Bolton was playing, and every time he got the ball, we would love to get him the ball a little bit more, but it's not that type of night. But every time he got the ball, he was either running around or over the top of someone. So you'd love to see him get that ball in his hands and have a real go again. I think only good things are going to come at the end of it. So certainly you react to that. There's frustration in the moment. And as I said, no game is going to be perfect, but you can't let too many of those go. So whether it's a knock on at the base of the ruck, whether it's a line out, or whether it's a pass like that doesn't go to hand, at the end of the day, you need to be landing some of them if you're going to make a dent in these really tight interpros.
What was better tonight for you?
Look, I think I was really pleased with how we got out of our end of the field. That was something we looked at really closely after the Saracens game. It's something that's been a big work on for us throughout this season. So we've done a lot of work this week on that, and there's probably two reasons. One is because when you play against those really good teams that we've played recently, they tend to shine a spotlight on the areas of your game that maybe do need the most improvement. I think that building to exit and that kick chase was one of them. But also when you come up here to Belfast and you know that it's going to be a tight encounter, you know that the opposition thrive on getting cheap access to your 22. That's where they're incredibly effective. So we knew that would be important in context of this week as well. So I think there was growth there. I think that was important. It showed that we can embrace the more less glamorous bits of the game, like the kick chase and fighting for that ball in the air. So that's pleasing because, a lot of the time this season we've talked about fast ball and we've talked about the flow of attack and this, that and the other. But, for us to be successful, we've got to be a team that enjoys the mucky stuff as well. So I was pleased with the response in that area. I think that was a key part for why we were in the game. But as I said, ultimately, you've still got to take your opportunities when they come.
What made Ulster 1 point winners for you? Like, what was that little bit of an edge they had? Where did they win it?
Look, I think that point after half time, I think knowing that it's tight, and as I said, we can see 3 penalties there that really gets them from deep in their half all the way down towards our end of the field. I think that was incredibly important. I think swings of momentum, you're always going to get those blocks of momentum and to change your hands. But to go 3 in a row, I think that was crucial. And as I said, ultimately, once they got into the 22, we solved a lot. And certainly their game wasn't perfect. Our game wasn't perfect, but they landed more than us. And, credit to them for that.
Sean O'Brien had a really good start to the game. How's his injury? Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, it's a foot injury. So I've got no intel yet on what it is or how serious it is. But, he played 14 minutes and I thought he was outstanding. So, it's a shame he couldn't build on that great start to the game. Hopefully it's a quick turnaround for him, but I'll get the feedback over the next 24 hours. And
you had to take Joe Joyce out beforehand. What's the story there?
Yeah, Joe went down with illness this morning actually, and it was a call from the doctor early, so we had Niall Murray travelling with us anyway. So it's a natural sort of slide of Gav Thornbury across the start and Niall to come onto the bench. So there wasn't any disruption in that would that we could use as an excuse. It's obviously disappointed not to have Joe, but as I said, we had some pretty good bodies there to cover for that.
Viewers will see the obvious improvement in restarts this week as a work on and a success. I think that will give supporters encouragement. But what's the key work on, do you think, for Munster? This is a monstrous game now in the context of trying to make it to the playoffs, trying to win your home games.
Yeah, look, I think it's really important. I think any Interpro, particularly Interpro at home, is really significant in the context of the season. I don't think it's make or break in terms of how much rugby's left in this year and the games to come. But we need to make sure that we deliver that same ability to control field position that I thought we did well at times tonight. We'll get opportunities to get fast ball and have a bit of a go at them, but ultimately we need to make sure that we're landing a few more of those punches than we did tonight. I think what you saw tonight was a brilliant fighting spirit, a team that was determined to make sure that they stayed in the hunt and they didn't give the opposition an easy ride. And we just need that little bit of accuracy at the end of it, and particularly on home soil. I'd like to think we'll be right in the mix against Munster.
Pete, very happy Christmas. Will you get a chance to relax for a day or two?
Yeah, for a day or two, and then back to work. But thank you, Rob. Happy Christmas to you too.
And before we come back to William and Rob, here's some of the Ulster audio in the post-match.
Really tough Interpro game. We knew that Connacht would come desperate. I think that's 5 games in a row they've lost. They came here having lost 4 games in a row. So, that's a difficult situation to be in. They're a really good team. Conditions were very tough, and so it was always going to be difficult. But look, I'm proud of the way the lads fought. We didn't play our best stuff in the first half and didn't use the conditions as well as we could have done. But in the second half against the wind, I thought that needed real fight, and bar a couple of missed tackles. I thought a lot of what we did was really good and really dogged. And we'll go into Christmas very happy and looking to face a massive challenge going down to Leinster.
Okay, William, what are we saying? We have to beat Munster. It has to be an absolute and 100% win. Nothing else does.
Yeah, I can see huge problems if they don't beat Munster. And that's another game, and they've got 10 days to think about it, and they've got 4 days off, which I think, as Ian Henderson said on television after the game, he's delighted about. So they've got the same, because they're both playing on New Year's Day. They don't have to worry about it, so they can go home and eat lots of turkey and maybe have 1 or 2 glasses of beer or whatever. If you want to pick one moment in that game where Connacht had it in their hands, and he played very well, but Tom Farrell's pass to Shane Bolton was free over the halfway line. Robert Balakoon's he's an awful defender. Yeah. We saw that for Seamus Hurley-Langton. He'd already got out of position.
There was a fullback.
Pardon?
There was a fullback further down the field.
Yes, but how many metres does he make? The fullback maybe stops him 5 metres from the line, pushes him into touch, or gives away a penalty by doing something stupid. It's small things like that in tight games. It just happens. But if you see it again, if you're looking back at the game, look where Balakoon is, look where Bolton is. Ball in Bolton's hands, he's gone, and he's going to motor down that wing. That was probably the key chance that they didn't turn, and that's...
Yeah. And Rob, I'm going to come to you on this one. Yeah, one of the lads on Discord's asked me to talk about the fact that, the TV commentary, it's actually Shane, former president of the Connacht clan.
Hi, Shane.
Asking, he gets so fed up with the commentary on TV, basically saying, didn't Connacht do well to get a point?
Oh, yeah. Aren't they great? Mighty bunch.
There was so much
but you know how I feel about that. I've had rants on this pod before because I just feel there's more in this group, and I think that's why, again, I know you weren't saying it at start, but I think that's why I'm so sensitive to the fact that if an analogy is made to Kieran Keane or a new era or Andy Friend, I think this could be a revolutionary year under Pete Wilkins. I think he could make himself the greatest ever Connacht coach, but he's doing it off the back of an incredible foundation from Andy Friend, and there's no shame in doing that, and it won't undermine what he does.
And with 2 world-class players in the backs.
Absolutely. So I think those things are really, really important to remember, and I think that's where, this is 2 teams are as good as each other. This is, look, I'll say it. You were going to say it earlier. I'll take it. You probably take it further than this. Connacht are a better team than Ulster right now, which makes Ulster's victory over Racing sensational. But everything I've seen this season so far tells me Connacht are better. This 2024, I mean, that's factually correct because we've beaten them 2 out of 3 times. So they were celebrating a 1-point win, and the very gracious and very respectful and class act that Ian Henderson said we were lucky to win that. Love that. Real class act. Even the Ulster reporter was trying to lead him with, there was a bit of needle in that one, and he was like, no. Well, there was, but that's why we love it in terms of Interpro. So really impressed with that. So yeah, Shane, you're right. And the other thing was, I said it already, but look, I mean, I better be careful who's directing it and all that kind of stuff, because our friends in TG Carr, I don't want to be criticising TV coverage, but it was dreadful TV coverage on the Jack Carty penalty that we didn't get a replay of it. I mean, because we're watching the screen here, but that's the kind of stuff that goes against Connacht all the time. It's like the director doesn't even think to go, could that be contentious, that penalty? It's like, oh, Connacht, God love them, they're doing mighty. This is back to Shane's point. This is where the condescending attitude towards us, true, and it's not true negative. It's not like they're not positive and happy for us. It's just that they're like, oh, Connacht were wilting there, and sure, they got penalised. Did Jack Carty kill the ball, or was he held into that ruck? We don't know, because there wasn't a replay of it, and that would not happen if it had been penaltied the other way. And I think those kind of image stuff sometimes that go against Connacht, it has no material effect on the game whatsoever, but it just shows you what goes against Connacht. I don't think it was a penalty. I do think Connacht were borderline illegal at the breakdown multiple other times, so I'm not moaning about it too much.
Yeah, it is. The condescension is frustrating at times, but then the way to avoid that is not to lose 5 games in a row.
Well said.
And not to get beaten out the gate at home by Bordeaux and then get involved in a 91-point game but still lose it pretty comfortably to Saracens. If you beat Leinster and you beat Ulster tonight, that disappears.
And you beat Edinburgh.
And you get a draw with Edinburgh. Connacht forget about Europe for a minute, because I think Europe is different. But Connacht's, and I think winning in Pretoria is nearly impossible for any side going down.
No European side has even come close.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. The South African side sometimes win there. But, they've had 3 really tight games. They could have got a draw in Edinburgh, fluffed it on the last play of the game. Should have beaten Leinster, fluffed it on the last play of the game. This game here, they didn't get a real opportunity.
No, but it was there.
It was there.
A better line out, a more functioning line out, and they probably do.
Yeah,
a better decision by the ref on that try, and then we might have got one.
Hold on. The referee said it was a try.
He did,
but it was the TMO who overturned it. I think the TMO was correct. I think that ball was touching the line. You're out.
No, I think they hit the ground first and then it touched the line. But anyway, go on.
Just on the points lost, I mean, didn't kick to the corner against the Bulls. Bonus point was sitting there.
Well, no. They got them. Their penalty was overturned for yakking.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm glad you clarified that. I didn't make that clear, but that's what I meant. As in, didn't get a chance to kick the corner. And then you throw in, like, it was a point lost in Edinburgh, but a key point, and it means it's not a loss. And obviously you throw in, you could say it could have been as much as 4 points lost tonight. Look,
absolutely.
ifs, buts and maybes. And then you throw in how many did we lose against Leinster in the last? It was a 3 then in that last moment, going from a win to a loss, got a point. So you talk about bonus points, I just talk about lost points.
I think the thing is, that's why when you lose a game at home like Leinster, you have to nip off and win a game away. And that was a chance tonight.
You said it. You've been saying it for weeks. Benetton away is now going to be critical.
I honestly think that is going to be the game. I think that game.
Well, we have to get there. We have to get there. Like, we have to get to Munster first. For me, Munster is the game.
Munster is huge.
If they lose to Munster, and Munster are on their own bit of a losing.
They are, and they've got Leinster to play.
They've got Leinster to play on Stevens' day. They only have a 6-day turnaround.
Yeah, the only advantage they have is they can load up for both games, because everybody then has the gap until the European game.
Yeah.
They've brought this in to try to make sure that sides don't just pick one of the, because there's interpros on everywhere essentially.
Absolutely, because Glasgow beat Edinburgh tonight and didn't give them a bonus point, which is an advantage to Connacht. I think the Stormers are going to pass us by with whoever they're playing at the weekend. I think they're playing.
Yeah, the South Africans are kind of split up a little bit, and they're playing on alternate weekends. But there is a game tomorrow somewhere in South Africa where it's going to be about the same sort of temperature as Connacht played in. It'll be interesting to see who turns up, because
Stormers play the Bulls tomorrow.
Yeah, Christmas rugby is something that's not really known in South Africa, because it's cricket season. It's not rugby season.
It's a bit of bloody summer down there, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's the longest day of the year has passed, and it's already. They've lost a minute today of daylight. Munster's huge.
That's it for me, the whole season now. Because
you can't say that.
The belief that the players have that did come back. You could see it tonight. You could see that the belief that it was drifting away.
Yes,
from
I agree.
The systems seemed to come back tonight. But now they have to put it to bed and get the win against someone like Munster.
Yeah, I agree with you. But Alan, you see, what makes me wonder about what we do here is we live in the moment constantly in this podcast, and our fans live, and everyone lives in the moment. But I'll never forget Newcastle last year, and the absolute doldrums we were in. Like, this is a mess, this is a shambles. They all know friend is leaving, they're not playing for him anymore. These were all the things were being said. Yep. Then they produced the best 3 months of rugby in the history of professional era, within reason, bar obviously we won a title, of course, but I think if you compare that run to the title win, bar the final, it was even better.
Very similar, yeah.
But obviously it wasn't as good as winning the title, of course. I need to watch myself there. But that's the level of how things can change. We could lose 8 in a row and we could turn this around, and that's why I think William is right about the Benetton game. The Munster game is massive.
It is.
If this group, I love the communication. Aki gets criticised. Does he pull away from the team? His communication was super. He was on everyone's shoulder. Himself and JJ Hanrahan had a word at one point. He was cheering the team, and it was Bundy Aki of old.
Exactly.
And that's what we want to see. And no one is disputing that he hasn't been 100% in that area.
think one of the things is we do know he takes time to come back after a break.
Yeah.
Said that in the pod, yeah.
And, he's had this is his third game back.
Yeah.
So...
And he's so much more effective when he's like that. That little pop pass he gave to O'Brien for that brilliant break
absolutely.
before O'Brien hurt himself. O'Brien going off was huge.
It was huge because Cian Prendergast is not an 8, but he did a fantastic job of doing what he has to do.
Who for you, like, who plays against Munster? What's our best team right now available to us? Let's say O'Brien is fit again.
Well, I would start him if he's fit, but I suspect he won't be. It's just that sort of injury just looks messy and tricky, but you never know. I would be looking to play as close to that side as you can get.
Well, I'd be looking at Sean Jansen coming back in. I think Munster is built for Sean Jansen. Absolutely big. They
well,
love to destroy the breakdown.
If O'Brien's not available, it will be Jansen.
Yeah, Paul Boyle went off last week, and he had a bit of a bad knock on his face. It looked pretty serious. So we don't know. We haven't heard exactly.
We haven't heard exactly
this week, so it's not looking good.
You asked about Dowling.
Dowling is available for Munster.
That could be big.
He is really abrasive. I thought Gavin Thornbury did well tonight. I mean, he played well. He fixes a lot of problems in a very dodgy line-out. I mean, at least his size. The other interesting thing was Cian Prendergast moved around the line-out a bit. So they are trying to change things. But they've got to cut out these nonsensical things that keep happening. I'm not entirely convinced by Mac Hansen at 15, but I think he's the best bet we've got at the moment. Well, Tiernan
we don't have anyone else at the
moment.
Santiago. Tiernan's injured, and so Santiago.
I think he would be more effective on the wing, myself.
Because he doesn't get involved in the game as much because he's so much more responsibility.
Exactly, and it's a case of, look, he's not used to playing in the position, so therefore he is maybe slightly reluctant to become involved because he knows I've got to be concentrating on defence. I think I would start Jack Carty again. I think that has... Unless they feel that JJ Hanrahan might want to wind up Munster a bit, I don't know if that stuff works.
He played well off the bench. I think he had a good part to play in that try.
Yeah.
I think he linked really well, and I think he's the type of player that plays to what he plays to his strengths, which is for me his vision. I think he's really good vision.
Well, the backs
he sees a play develop in a really
Yeah.
interesting way. I think there's talent there that we can really use.
Yeah, he's a different player to Jack.
Yeah,
he
good
gives
combo.
us something different, which is really important. It's a matter of whether you start him and bring Jack on, or do you start Jack. And I think the weather would have an impact on that.
Just on what William said, I'd do whatever it takes to get Hansen on the ring. Bring Porch back in, who I don't think is playing that well, but try something to get Hansen on the wing to have a look at it. Because I just want to see that line going, Cardi, Aki, Farrell, and Hansen being that point of contact.
And Shane Bolton on the other wing.
Which means I'm dropping a man. I was going on about Ralston because they're playing him. I don't see a huge amount, but then you play all
He
these
is
little parts.
so efficient.
That's what I'm saying. He's
shy.
always there.
Yeah.
And he made some great tackles.
Yeah.
So I think they'll start him. I don't think they'll stop playing him until they have to. But they have to give him rest at some point.
Well, he's played every minute of every game.
Yeah, it's quite bizarre. It's a bit of an odd one. It's a question maybe one day to be asked. Shane Bolton has to play because there is a concern about how injury prone he is. So at the moment, if he's fit and he's playing like he is tonight, get him out there.
One other thing. I think our front row scrummaging is the best back up and starting I can ever remember. Ainger's on fire. Dooley was superb. Buckley and Beelum vintage today.
Yeah, I think that's fair point. There is slight concerns maybe about, not so much about the hookers hookers don't have to hook anymore because the ball's always put in crooked. But the play around the field, but the line, they're the line out throwers, and neither of them today completely convinced. But that's been a problem for a while. But as actual scrummagers, I agree with you. And Munster are very talkative about how good they are in the scrum. Well, we'll see how they get on against Leinster on Stevens' Day, and we'll see how they get on against Connacht on New Year's Day. It's a huge game. If there's any tickets available, I think there are some.
I think the sold out sign went up.
Oh, has it gone up, has it?
The sold out sign has gone up, so that game is now You've missed a ticket. You've missed it now at this stage.
Yeah, well, there you go. Turn up on the day outside. There might be some very hungover.
You never know.
Maybe your hungover mate hasn't turned up because he's still celebrating New Year's Eve.
Well, hopefully, are the tickets sold out for your big interview with certain Mr. Johnny Sexton?
I haven't been told, actually. It's been such a busy week. I haven't actually spoken to the kingpins in Murty's, Kieran and Adrienne. I might just give them a little text tomorrow and see what's happening. But hopefully there are still some tickets available for Johnny Sexton. January the 26th, starts at 8:30 p.m. There'll be high quality finger food, and there will be hopefully a revelationary interview and lots to learn. It will not be recorded, so if you want to hear it, you got to be there.
We must go for some pints after the Munster game. Absolute amazing spot to go. Big thanks to Murdy Rabbits. That's our venue. That's anyone who loves rugby and Connacht. You have to have it as one of your absolute must-goes on the night out. So thanks to all their support in 2023 and going into 2024. Hey, do you know what we do? We podcast like 3 times a week. Alan is at that laptop. He's got other stuff to do in his life, but I swear to God, I think he just stays up all night just producing podcasts for you lovely people. Not specifically all of you, though. You lovely people who sign up to patreon.com/Craggy Rugby for the price of what? A cup of coffee a month? Are you kidding me? You wouldn't throw that our way for all we give to you? We'd really appreciate it. But you know what? Don't do it out of just kind of like niceness. Do it because you're going to get so much more Connacht Rugby content because you love Connacht Rugby and you want more content. And if you're from Munster and you want to see what kind of snide remarks are making about you next week, I'll pay €3 and you can hear all about it. Enough of that. 3 Red Kings will be on to me again, I'm sure. I remember him getting very annoyed with me on Twitter a few years ago. Enough of that too. TG Car Studios, big thanks to everyone. They just make this possible. It's Christmas. We had a lot of really difficult logistical issues, so we were able to commentate from the base in the west of Ireland here in Ballynahown, and it was great. Very happy Christmas to all of you. We love doing this. We love bringing you all this news. Get to the sports ground on New Year's Day if you can. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and just quick thanks to Danny, who does a lot of the baseline stats for me in behind. So I do a lot of it. But Danny I wouldn't be able to do it without Danny, because I would be up all night trying to do it if I didn't have Danny creating all his little routines for me. That's half fill most of the spreadsheets. But just a shout out to him.
A special thanks to Connacht as well for their access.
Yes.
To everybody there, but particularly to Stephen Long and Dahi Boland, who sorted the things out for us today. They don't mind us asking hard questions. They're quite prepared to stand up and answer them. And we get some...
Which is the way it should be. And we want, Cian Prendergast asked a few weeks ago that we don't hold them to higher levels. And now we are, and they seem to be quite happy to be held to those levels. Hopefully we're going to see some action on the field that will make that happen too.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's important to have that relationship, and they accommodate us, and we accommodate them as well in terms of we turn up for all the press conferences and ask the hard questions. So it's great. Happy Christmas, everybody. Enjoy your break. Plenty of sport on Christmas Day. If you are interested, Test cricket, NBA basketball, 2 good NFL games, and there might even be some horse racing in the Far East. Unfortunately, there's no horse racing in France this year. It's very disappointing. Usually on Christmas Day, because it's such a tedious day.
Well, I'm going to be on the till until about 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve, so I'll probably be asleep during some of those NBA games, but I may start watching them. I look forward to snoozing on Christmas Day.
Yeah, what's this thing about ice hockey that they don't...
They take 2 days off.
No, they take 4 days off. It's a disgrace.
It is a disgrace, actually. I save up some games to watch, though, because I won't be able to watch Winnipeg against Boston tonight. The mighty Winnipeg Jets. Can we do a podcast on them, can we?
Yeah, I'll be enjoying Christmas Day and a nice family. My daughter came home from Canada this
Yay!
week, so Cassie's home. And
toured New Zealand with us, the Lions tour in 2005. Cassie and Danny. And Alan and Adrian. We had a great old trip travelling around. That's a long time ago now.
A proper Lions tour, that was. Not the corporate rubbish that they're doing these days.
Proper beating as well.
to Danny Brown, and my new grandson Kane is his first Christmas, so happy Christmas to him too.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Sad and confused. Don't wait until